So by default, all traffic is allowed to pass from higher security level to lower security level. This is known as outbound traffic. So that's what I was saying before, that the security level defines the trust that the ASA has for networks reachable out on that direction. So it means that, for example, traffic flowing 100 to 0 is going to be allowed by default, and return traffic is going to be allowed because of the stateful nature of the firewall. Likewise, all traffic is blocked by default from low security level to higher security level. And this is known as inbound traffic, which means in general it's going to come from the internet, because you're going to define. So it's all tied up to those security levels, the default ones, because by default it's assumed that you're going to put your LAN to be named inside and your internet interface to be named whatever, which means you're going to end up in the exact same setup where the inside is going to have a security level of 100 and the whatever the internet or the outside of 0, which means based on this default configuration, default firewall policies on the ASA, it means all traffic from LAN to the internet is going to be allowed, and also the return traffic because of the stateful firewall, because the ASA is the stateful firewall. But then all traffic initiated from the internet to the inside is going to be dropped because the security levels don't allow that by default. But of course, ACLs can be configured in both traffic directions to either restrict what traffic is allowed high to low, or to permit some traffic to flow from low to high. So what that means is that, looking at the diagram, we should see, based on the default configuration that we were speaking about, because in my use case, this is 100 level, gig 01, and this is 0, gig 00. It means that traffic should be allowed to flow 100 to 0. Like if I telnet from router 2 to router 4, because traffic flows 100 to 0 should be allowed. And likewise, the session should be successful, return traffic should be allowed as well. So return of the session should be allowed as well, because this is a stateful firewall. But then traffic initiated from router 4, like if router 4 is going to telnet to router 2, so if router 4 is going to initiate some traffic towards something behind SH3, because this is going to go 0 to 100, which is low to high, this is going to be dropped by the SA, not allowed by default. So let's do a basic test. Let's see that I can telnet high to low, but I cannot telnet low to high. This is not going to work. So let's go on router 2 and telnet to router 4, loop back. Let's see if I learned about the loopback of router 4, stripe router 10444. And there we go, I did. So let's say telnet 10444, this should be allowed. I'm not sure if I have a password on router 4's VTI line, so we're going to see. Password not set. Let's go on router 4 and configure a password. Password Cisco. So let's go back on router 2 and telnet to router 4. Cisco. Who, and there we go, I am connected from router 2. So now this confirms that the session was allowed to flow 100 to 0. So traffic this way was allowed. This was session initiation, and when router 4 replied, which is session return, this was also allowed because the ASA has kept a state for the session when it has allowed the initial packet, which was the initiation of the session, and then it has allowed the return traffic back in automatically. So if you look on the ASA and you say show connection long, you're going to see in here a TCP session which was sourced from the inside, router 2 source, and destined to the outside, the internet, router 4. This is destination. And the session is up from U flag, and IO means I have both inbound and outbound traffic, because this is a TCP session. Traffic flows both high to low and low to high, but traffic was initiated from high to low. How do I know that? Because of the flags, which is UIO, which is for session is up to where handshake was done. O for outbound data. And where is the I for, should be somewhere in here, for inbound data. Okay. If you look at in the SDM and you go to monitoring, so in here you have 3 main tabs in SDM. You have the home, which in this area you see nothing else but statistics about the ASA firewall, like the SDM version, the ASA version, SDM version, firewall mode, context mode, device type, and so on. And on the firewall dashboard, you see traffic statistics. If you go to monitoring and you go to logging, not logging, but let's go to interfaces and interface graphs. You can go in here and create graphs based on whatever, let's say, attributes you want: packet counts, packet bit rates, drop packet count, and so on for each interface if you so choose to. Okay. In this portion, we can add multiple ASAs to be managed by the SDM, but you need to configure them individually. You cannot configure in the SDM some centralized policies and push them over to all of the ASAs. But you can actually manage multiple of them, but you have to manage them individually by clicking back and forth. You cannot configure a centralized set of firewall policies. Okay. Now, the other way around, if traffic goes from 0 to 100, if I'm going to try initiate a session this way, this is going to be dropped by default because I go 0 to 100. So let's go on ASA tree, enable logging to see that happen, logging on, and logging constant informational. And let's go on router 4 now and telnet to router 2. So I'm going to go the other way around, 0 to 100, which should be dropped. Telnet, let's say 10.222. And if you go on ASA3, I'm going to say no logging cancel. It states inbound TCP connection from router 4, the source, to router 2, port 23, the destination. Flag status is the session initiation. Received inbound on interface internet. It is being dropped. It says in here, denied. Doesn't say exactly why, but this is based on the default security levels, which the ASA doesn't allow traffic to flow low to high by default. Now, as I was saying in the previous slide, the ACLs can, however, be used. I have not configured an ACLs so far. Can, however, be used to restrict what traffic is allowed high to low, because by default, all traffic is allowed. And it can also be used to allow some traffic to flow low to high, like from the internet to the inside or to the DMZ, because by default, none is allowed. And now ACLs, once you configure the ACLs to either restrict traffic high to low, or to allow some traffic low to high, then ACL is going to be applied in the end inbound at the interface level, or outbound at the interface level, or globally at the firewall level. This feature was added in the code 8.3, and it behaves like an inbound ACL applied to all interfaces, and is going to apply to all traffic that does not match an inbound interface ACL. At interface level, only one inbound and one outbound firewall filter is allowed, just like on the iOS. And once an ACL is applied, this is a very important topic. Once an ACL is applied inbound on the interface, then at that point the security level pretty much is ignored. All traffic received on that interface is going to be controlled by the ACL. Like for example, so currently all traffic is allowed to flow 100 to 0. All traffic is allowed to flow this way. And of course return traffic back in because traffic is being inspected, because this is a stateful firewall. But if I go on ASA tree and I apply in here an inbound ACL, then at that point, once the inbound ACL is going to be applied on the interface with the level of 100, then at this point all traffic flowing in this direction, low to high, high to low, all traffic flowing high to low, at this point is not only going to be allowed, it is going to be allowed based on the rules of the ACL, and that completely makes sense. So the ASA has a default firewall policy which traffic is allowed back and forth based on security levels, to allow for easy configuration back in the days where you would want to allow all traffic from the LAN, from the inside to the internet to the outside and nothing else in. It's going to allow for easy, so that allowed back in the days easy deployment. You just put IP addresses, you put the proper nameifs, you put the SA in the network, and there you go. All traffic outbound is allowed, LAN to internet, and nothing else is allowed backward. Nothing else is allowed from the internet to the inside, which is what you would want. And you would want to only allow traffic from the internet to the inside as needed by manual configuration to access lists. But either way, as long as you put, so that's why it had a built-in firewall policy based on security levels. But then as soon as you come in and you apply an inbound ACL on the interface, then all traffic coming inbound on that interface is going to be controlled by that ACL. So at this point in this specific use case, all traffic would be allowed based on the ACL. No more all traffic allowed because it flows high to low.